All good? I love that show. So today is all about cracking the innovator's dilemma for this session. And I've actually founded a company that is today #1 on the market for monitoring, and monitoring cloud applications, enterprise applications, and so forth. So with monitoring, many think about, oh yeah, okay, this is all about charting software metrics. But actually, we go far beyond this, because we actually do build out of your applications and the infrastructure a topological map vertically all the way from the hardware, virtualization, cloud, processes, application, even code level, all the way into the real users, mobile apps, web apps, full stack, and horizontally across all hosts that you run a model, a real-time model that allows to fully automatically, based on deterministic artificial intelligence, give you the answers about, for instance, the root cause of problems. Right there, all automatic. And the root cause automatic means no waste of time for finding issues, no waste of time for war rooms, no longer dashboard watching. And also, what was a monitoring software if it was focusing on the CPUs and the apps, if it's not really tied to the end user, because ultimately the end user, your customer, is what matters. And there also, Dynatrace does provide to any issue that it finds also the impact. For instance, on this screen, you do see that 174 end users have been impacted by a CouchDB issue around the network, all discovered fully automatically by real-time analyzing 60 million dependencies. So this sounds so easy, but actually there's the number crunching underneath. And with the applications getting more and more complex, no human can do this anymore, so you need software to find those issues. But this talk is less about our product, but more about the story, how we could actually redefine monitoring. So let me start at the very beginning. I founded Dynatrace 2005. It was all about the best application tracing that was out there. We grew and grew and grew, and in 2012, we grew actually twice a year. We went global, and by mergers, we got 2 other products, and were even named as the leader in the market with the biggest market share. So all great, fantastic. What do you want more than the leadership? It was also the time when the applications started to be built differently. Web scale. Network became virtualized with SDN. More cloud adoption. More mobile end devices. And even the slowest enterprises started to think about how to go to agile development processes. So the complexity continued to grow and explode, which also meant that we were thinking, is it still the right thing to show our users the data only, so that we need power users to make sense out of what your applications are doing in production? Actually, we need automatic answers. So in answers, no data, was then our vision for redefining monitoring. The goal was set to redefine this APM market as much as the iPhone did revolutionize the cell phone market. So there were 3 options to go about this. The first one was about integrating multiple products into a suite. The second one, actually more an evolutionary approach to re-architect the product. And the third one is actually to start over from scratch. So let's walk through those. Integrating multiple products into a suite gives you horrible user experience. But the business people love it because, oh, in 6 months we have this great suite, everything will be tied together, and we have the best sellable solution ever. Reality is, if Apple had gone that path and integrated the best of breed back then the iPhone would probably have looked like that. Yuck. So this was a no-go option for a really good usable product. The second option is the one that the customers actually would love the most. Drag them along, step by step, give them a better product, re-architect slowly. But the issue with this is that when you have 8,000 customers in your back, all of them are happy with the product as it is, it's so hard to really come up with a very disruptive, new, innovative offering. So there needs to be a way that's different, a way that lets you escape from the pull of the past. Which brings me to the third option, that is start from scratch, Greenfield. And this really means create a startup within the company. So what do you think? How would you convince your boss, your investors, about spending 20 million per year to come up with a new solution that is supposed to be disruptive, but they say, okay, I'm back in 3 years? That's quite difficult, right? So what we did, or what I did in this case, I went to the management team back and told them the Kodak story. They said, oh, no, we are not Kodak. This is a different market. Yes, it is different. They were correct, but still a fantastic story to get them going and to raise pain. Because Kodak was actually the market leader in digital photography. They had 30% market share. This is domination. Yet we all know what happened. They failed. They failed because they were too much afraid of cannibalization of their film market. So the lesson learned is, if something can be done, somebody will do it. So definitely. And this story was a key driver also then for our business to actually say, okay, let's do it. To really redefine the market, we build a startup from scratch. We never did actually a formal new company, but just I moved into a position of sort of a virtual CEO and built then an engineering team, built the marketing and sales team, basically a little company on its own. 50% of the team was from the existing, and the other 50% were about new hires. So the right mix of enough knowledge about what could be done better from the past and new blood to make sure we can really build up a new culture. And the other goal was we did not want to do the same as before. We thought we start first with a SaaS business, because this allows us also to change the business model best. And we intentionally do not go after the enterprise business. Why? Because when you think primarily about innovation, the least thing that you want to build and waste engineering time of is SAML integration for single sign-on and things like that, right? So basically with this new company, we even had a dedicated brand, so customers would not even notice that this NewCo is actually part of Dynatrace, so completely separated go-to-market. And the engineering team that we had built up then used to actually do 2 releases per year. But in this new approach, we moved to a model where we do a major release every sprint. Very different, but also for SaaS and on-premise customers at the same time. And the way we did it was by putting a stake into the ground, something that the team thought it's totally impossible. And this is getting from a code check-in to production within 1 hour. And this drove us then also to the situation that we didn't have any idea actually how to do 24/7 because our customers used to operate our on-premises software before. So now moving to SaaS, we have to do something about 24/7. Gladly, through mergers, we had actually a team with a follow-the-sun model to do operations, a network operating center. So we ran a pilot in there, and it all worked beautifully. They operated for us till there was a support case coming up. The support case required us to create a patch, and our continuous integration was super quick. Within 24 hours, we had the turnaround and then wanted to deploy it in the same pace. However, the NOC itself had a change request meeting on the next Thursday, and within that meeting, they said, okay, we will deploy in another week from now. What? 2 weeks to get a patch deployed? No way, this is what our customers deserve. So we needed to do something completely different. And this was the moment and one of the key reasons why we moved all into Amazon Cloud for 3 key reasons. The first one, automation, so extending continuous integration into continuous delivery and feedback. The second one was the failover capabilities and high availability with multiple zones. The third one, we wanted to go global very quickly, and the global presence allowed us to do that. So we still didn't solve at this point the 24/7 problem. So we had still run books around for some people who do operations. But actually, the engineering team was so arrogant, saying, no, I'm not doing operations. I don't want to work in shifts. Someone else has to do it. But we also knew from experience that those run books were super cumbersome to write, so no one wanted those either. So the solution was, forget about operations. Let's automate all run books. And within 8 sprints, we had only 1 run book entry left. And this 1 run book entry said, if the orchestration cannot self-heal the application, call R&D. That's it. And without knowing, without a dedicated plan for it, we actually arrived at no ops. So that was pretty cool because all the cluster management was fully self-healing. And this was done by a culture change. Actually, all the engineering and the chief architects were made responsible for all non-functional requirements, meaning security, performance, monitoring, everything. And this was drastically different than before, meaning also they were on par with product management. And the other key element was continuous feedback. When engineers checked in something that broke the pipeline in the cafeteria, a red light would go on. So that they knew, oh, we need to go back and fix my issues so that the other 150 engineers can continue work properly. And also the ability to use monitoring for having visibility into the production environment by developers was key for them to actually develop a new pride. Because suddenly the engineers understood, oh, I just have deployed the feature last week, and now I see how my users are adopting the feature I just built. Maybe I kind of tune this usability for this in the next sprint. And this really made them proud of what they built, and therefore also accept all the additional burden of non-functional requirements. Now you could think with a major release every other week, the quality would suffer. But actually the opposite happened. Because before, with an on-premises offering, all of the production issues were reported by customers. Now, with the SaaS approach and the engineers caring about production, it was actually that only 7% of those issues were found by customers, and 93% were proactively detected by the engineers because they owned their own kind of code and component and cared about customers and production. What a culture shift. Not only the product itself was changed, also the business model. So We moved, for instance, into the Amazon marketplace, added a consumption model because all the new applications are more dynamic in nature, and also changed the way the sales team works in the sense of all free trial, online onboarding with remote sales, and also in-product chat to help the customers. So this allowed us, within 1 year, to actually achieve stunning 300 customers for such a product, with a growth rate of doubling every year. So while this was a success, we still were not happy with the revenue we did, because imagine onboarding a single customer did cost us $9,000. But actually then with SMB customers paying $99 per month, you cannot fund a 20 million engineering cost per year, right? So you'd need to do something different to scale it further up. So it was in the year 2015 then where you see it there on the right curve. The new generation product was at the beginning of the zone of the innovator's dilemma. So it did not have yet the completeness of capabilities as the first gen product, but it already had the disruptive technology in it. So we needed to get through this zone, and actually in 2 years we managed to make this new product enterprise ready. And this drives then now to the next step, because we had this startup and now needed to bring it back into Dynatrace. It's almost like an acquisition that you make of a company and bring it back. But we had built up all this new culture, and the rest of the organization were still sort of in their old behavior. So we needed to figure out how to actually create a true biz DevOps culture in the entire organization, and had to start a complete digital transformation of the entire organization of 1,500 people. So the product was far ahead of the rest of the company, meaning the services team used to actually provide deployment services, but with a fully automatic product, you don't need to do this anymore. Support needed to change. The field sales team needed to learn a different value proposition and so forth. So all this is actually causing challenges for it. By now, this new disruptive monitoring solution is actually being brought back into Dynatrace, so it actually is the lead product and the single product, which allows us to sort of step ahead or out of this dilemma zone and be disruptive. And this brings me to 5 key lessons learned. So the first one is starting with this from scratch approach in the SMB market did allow us to focus fully on the innovation, on user experience. It also helped us to make sure we do all the innovation work and then later on change our mind and say, okay, we cannot grow the revenue that much in SMB. Let's now refocus. We have the core of the innovation there. Refocus to the enterprise business. Add in some of the field sales team, and voila. We had then suddenly a growth of 50% per quarter, not per year, per quarter. And this was amazing, and this is now exactly the moment where now the hockey stick's really kicking in. The third lesson learned is that disruptive products require disruptive business behavior, sort of the entire culture of the entire company needed to change, and you can't get faster to it. It took the full 5 years to get to here. This is comparable to other successful startups. And of course, if you hadn't started 5 years ago, then we wouldn't be here in this situation. Like last year, even the slowest enterprise started to move towards cloud with microservices and so forth. So we are now super happy that we did it. And we enable now customers to no longer need to watch dashboards, no longer sit in there in these war rooms and enable them towards self-driving IT. And this leaves me only with one question: what's next? Thank you.